Let's fast forward. Group A, some fun stuff here as well. Thursday, 12:45 p.m. Eastern. I'll be locked into this one, even though it runs counter to, I think, the Braun match is going to make it a little tough. Rosengard, 0 points, already eliminated. They host Benfica on 7 points, who currently sit in the driver's seat for that second knockout stage spot. Huge stakes in this one for Benfica. So if they win, they're in straight away. If they match however many points Frankfurt earns against Barcelona, they're in. So they're really knocking on the door. So even if Frankfurt draws Barcelona, all Benfica's got to do is draw at Rosengard. So they really control their own destiny in a lot of different ways. Similar situation as to what's in Group B, though. Benfica don't want to find themselves in a situation where they need a result match day 6.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in that spot. You want to close it out here at Rosengard. We'll see what kind of the weather's looking like for our squad from Portugal. A loss here, though, leaves the door open for Frankfurt. Not a spot, again, that you want to be in. I think ultimately we see an aggressive foot on the gas pedal showing from Benfica, especially considering the weather. You know, you don't want to go, if it is cold, you don't want to go into the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, 0-0, and then have to kind of summon something special at that point.
Yeah.
If you want to make it happen, the earlier the better. And I'm starting to wonder if Benfica can play any other kind of way than that. Because every match we're like, they got to come out here and gun it. And then sure enough, they come out here and gun it. So which is kind of what makes them so fun to watch. What are you expecting in this one?
I think you totally nailed it. I think if, we were talking about squads who we want to see, if they feel like they're playing in a must-win game or a gotta-have-it game, I think Benfica is similar to Paris FC in that sense, and they're probably relishing the opportunity to play in, we'll maybe not call it a must-win, but it's like a win or be in danger kind of match. So why not go out there in that cold Sweden air? I can't remember if Rosengard's stadium in Malmo, I can't remember if it has a roof, but you have to go into Sweden, you have to win this game. So I think we're expecting this. It's probably going to be Kika Nazareth time. I'm also expecting, Jessica Silva push the ball forward, get Nazareth the ball from the wing. I went back and because this was a relatively interesting reverse fixture. It was only Benfica 1, Rosengard 0 in the reverse. They met on match day 2. Nigerian center back Christy Ushebi, she was able to push up and get the attack going in that match. She had 7 passes into the final third when these squads met on match day 2. I wouldn't be surprised if they want to see some more of that from her, because if you're Benfica, you got to see like what kind of looks are we going to have when we start going up against more giants in the knockout rounds.
Yeah, I'm glad you called out Ushebi. Against Frankfurt, she was awesome.
Great
She
player.
was, harassing the shit out of those players. And, kind of controlling the ball and getting the offense kicked off from the back, which was great. She's only played in 3 group stage matches. So I believe she might have missed the first Barcelona match, which wasn't totally on my radar, but she definitely jumped off the screen in the back-to-backers against Frankfurt.
Yep.
So yeah, if she's locked in, going to be a long day for Rosengard. They're already eliminated as well. So we'll see. Maybe they're in 1-2-3 Ibiza mindset. If you're Benfica, let's jump out early. Let's not kind of sweat it out. We've seen Kika. I'm glad you mentioned her as well. We've seen her facilitate. Maybe this is a match where she kind of takes some of those opportunities when she's on the ball, trying to make something happen, put the team on her back and carry this team into the quarters.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Ibiza time might be, I don't know. I mean, maybe you could squeeze some in. I think the first match is in Damallsvenskan. I think they kick off around second week of April 14th-ish. It starts to thaw out a little bit up there in the Nordics. So I think they kick off their season in April. But yeah, I think you're right, though. I wouldn't blame anybody. It's human nature to be like, okay, we're out of this tournament. Let's not get hurt. Let's just go out there and play. And it could end up being favorable for Benfica.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to be keeping an eye out on. One more match to cover. This one going down Thursday, 3 p.m. A little team called Barcelona. They host Eintracht Frankfurt, who sits on 4 points and right on the border of life support when it comes to this tournament. This one should be pretty compelling, though. Frankfurt, again, backs against the wall. They need a result here. If they lose, they're most definitely out, no matter what happens in the Benfica match. So a draw barely keeps them alive, but realistically, they're probably going to find a way to somehow try to win this one. So I think we're going to see a very aggressive Frankfurt side. They had a great first half against Barcelona in Germany before ultimately wilting in that one. This Frankfurt side feels like a pretty prideful squad, great European tournament pedigree. If they could put together an entire 90 minutes against the champs, easier said than done, obviously. Not only can they hang their hat on that, but they might just be able to stay alive in the tournament. Barcelona, on the other hand, what else can we say at this point? I just kind of find myself looking for crazy ass Barca stats that make me chuckle. So I found a couple for you that I want to kind of walk you through.
Let's go.
Keep in mind, 4 group stage matches so far for the champs, 19 goals.
Come on.
11 different goal scorers. Now, this isn't over the course of a season. This is 4 group stage matches. They've had 11 people score goals.
Great.
15 assists as a team, 8 different players with at least 1 assist. This one was my favorite. Barcelona has had 15 different players who've accrued either a goal or an assist.
Come on, man.
15 players in 4 matches.
That's ridiculous. That's FIFA for the PlayStation numbers there. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's beginner level. That's
yeah.
Barca's obviously already through to the quarters. Only team with an unblemished group stage record left amongst the 16. And they're going to be an absolute nightmare for whoever draws them at any point during the knockout stage. Biggest piece of drama in this one might be who actually gets to start for Barca. We've talked about that, I think, up and down this episode. For these teams that have clinched, maybe an opportunity to get the young players, some run. I don't know. We'll see. Frankfurt needing a result. This one should be interesting, maybe until it's not. What are you going to be looking out for in this one?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, Barcelona would have to lose 2 consecutive matches to lose the number 1 seed here in Group A. And using the app, our old pals, FOTMOB, FOTMOB, must-have mobile app for football fans. Looking back at their matches, the last time Barcelona lost a football match was May 21st, 2023, based on their records here. I believe that was, if not the last, one of the last matches of Liga F the previous season, and it was right before the Champions League final versus Wolfsburg. They lost to Madrid Femenino, not to be confused with Real Madrid. They lost to them 2-1, and then subsequently won the Champions League against Wolfsburg. So I would guess that they may have been resting that match. So needless to say, tall order for them to lose twice in a row. Barcelona's last competitive match was a couple weeks ago. They faced a stiff challenge of playing second place Levante in Liga F. No, just kidding. They beat them 9-1. Selma Perejuelo scored in the 5th minute, and they just kind of continued to pile on from there. This has got to be a kitchen sink game to end all kitchen sink games for Frankfurt. You need a little bit of a miracle. They're relying on Rosengard to either beat or draw Benfica to give them a little bit of help. And then they have to go out and get this result against the juggernaut of all the juggernauts. So, as you mentioned, Frankfurt, they were able to take the fight and hold the ball against Barcelona in the midfield a little bit in the reverse fixture. Here's what I'm extremely interested in seeing. If you're the German squad, can you do it in España? Like you mentioned, they put together that first good half of football. That was in Germany. But here's an interesting thing. So, obviously, Barcelona, they played Rosengard in like those pivot matches, as we were calling, where they played them back to back. I'm interested to see, what does Barcelona look like against Frankfurt? What does the winning machine look like now that it has actually also collected some data on you? Now they have a little bit more Frankfurt direct information. They don't just have the scouting. They can say, hey, here's all this tape from when we were on the field with them. Does that make them even better? Can they be even better? I don't know.
That's a very scary thought. I mean, if I had to predict, I would say probably.
Yep.
I think they find some things that they can exploit, and I wouldn't be surprised if they jump out a little bit early and just take the wind out of Frankfurt's sails. That's not the kind of match that I want to see. I'd want to see this one kind of go into deep waters a little bit, just because I enjoy this Frankfurt side quite a bit.
Hell yeah.
And they're skilled and they play hard. They're definitely not going to roll over unless it's out of reach, and then I think they might just call it a day.
Yeah.
A couple different ways they can go, because I think, if you're Barcelona, I really do believe, again, these are institutions. It isn't just like this myopia of like, oh, good, this game, 90 minutes, and that's why we're focused. No, it's like, no, these organizations understand that they're building something that's kind of generational.
Yep.
This Barca side is in some ways built atop what the men's side has done for years and years prior, decades prior. So I think with that understanding, I'm going to be interested to see how many young players we get to see in this match day 5 and 6, because this is the chance, right? Once we get to the knockout stage, stakes get ratcheted right back up, right? And I think now this is like a little bit of a cooler period for these teams that have a cushy lead. So I kind of hope we get to see a little bit of that. Sort of selfishly, I just kind of want to see who Barca's got towards the middle and the end of that bench and kind of what they'd be able to do on a big stage. So I think there's definitely going to be some intrigue.
Maybe we can see a few debutantes as a callback to our World Cup coverage. Debutante, the word of the World Cup. So let's see. I love that from a big club, when they're in the spot and you see somebody come on the pitch and you're like, oh, that looks like a child coming onto the pitch. And they're like 19-year-old or 17-year-old from this. And then you watch them play and you're like, okay, they got another one, I guess. So I'm totally with you. It'll be interesting to see.
I'm just over the moon. I mean, we get Champions League back this week.
So good.
Wednesday, Thursday are just going to be joyous, joyous days for us.